So off camera, I went and I solved an issue I was having with Google Analytics where I couldn't get it to connect with Google Ads, and I'll walk you through how to connect your Google Analytics account to your Google Ads account. Right now, what we're going to be working on is probably the most important thing, not probably, what is the most important thing for your Google Ads account, and what 8 to 9 out of 10 accounts that I look at never have this set up, and that is conversion tracking. And not just call from ads, actual form fills and phone calls. Now, a decent amount of people do manage to set up form fills and import that information into Google Ads, but very rarely do I see people actually tracking phone calls, where someone clicks onto the website, picks up their phone, and actually calls. That's the volume of conversions, and everything in your ad account needs to be optimized for conversions. It doesn't matter how many clicks you get, it doesn't matter what your impressions are, it doesn't matter what your click-through rate is, what your quality score is, what your average cost per click is. None of that matters unless you have your conversion data. So let's go ahead and set that up. We're going to be tracking form fills and calls, and we're going to be using Google Analytics and Google Tag Manager for form fills and CallRail for phone calls. Now, what I did was I went in, and you can do this as well, to connect your Google Ads account to your Google Analytics account. Make sure you have Analytics set up. Go over to Admin, Google Ads Linking, and just click New Link Group and set that up. I didn't do that on camera because as that is clicked, what it does is it shows all the other ad accounts within our account. You just need to make sure your Google Ads account is set up with the same email as your Google Analytics account. And what I also did, because it was a little bit complicated and I didn't want to go into how to set up form tracking, because that's not what this video is about, is I set up form tracking as a goal. And the way that I did that was through Google Tag Manager. So the site is an HTML site, and the form handling is done through Ajax. And basically what happens is there's no redirect when a form is submitted. More likely not, and if you need to know how to set up form tracking in Google Analytics, very simple Google search, tons of videos out there on how to do that. But for those who are aware of how form tracking works, there was no thank you page, so I had to track when an element was visible, and I just did that through Google Tag Manager. So basically, what I have, just so that everything is completely transparent with how it's set up, is I just have this element visibility trigger when the element selector shows the success icon, and that is sent through a form submission, which is sent through an event into Google Analytics. And then in Google Analytics, we just have the form submission event set up. So all you have to do is make sure that your forms are being tracked. Most likely, you're going to do it through a destination page, through a thank you page. If not, then an event. Like I said, there's tons of videos out there in order to how to set up conversion tracking through forms using Google Analytics. Now what we're going to do is actually import our conversion into Google Ads. So for that, we're going to go back to our Google Ads account, and we're going to go to Tools and Settings, and we're going to go to Conversions. Now what we're going to do is click on the plus icon, and we're going to import from Google Analytics, and we're going to have our form submission goal right there. We're going to import, done, and then we're going to go right into Edit by clicking on the title. So we have a couple settings here. So you can name it whatever you want. Just make sure it's descriptive. So if there's multiple forms, make sure it's indicating which form it is. Oops. For categories, you can classify this. So for me, I'm going to make that a lead. Value, use the value and currency from Google Analytics. So what I'm going to use is use the same value from Google Analytics, and I'm going to put that at 120 for my own clarifications on that. Source Analytics, can't change that, where it's coming from. Count one conversion. So this is very important with your forms. You only want to count one if someone goes onto your page and submits multiple forms, or if you're tracking when someone clicks the submit button rather than actual form submit. You don't want to track multiple conversions per one person, just filling out a form multiple times or trying to fill out a form multiple times. So just keep that on one. Conversion window, you can just leave by default for 30 days. Include in conversions, make sure that is on yes, because you want that to actually show. For your attribution model, really doesn't matter unless you have a ton of data in your account. This really isn't going to change things too much. But for me, I'm just going to put this as linear. And if you want to know the differences in attribution models, I would say just Google that. Not going to make this a 10-hour video by going over every little setting. So now we have our form submissions tracked. So now what will happen is somebody clicks on from an ad onto the landing page, fills out the form, gets a success message that gets added to Google Analytics, and then that gets imported into Google Ads. Now we could have set up our conversion tracking by adding a tag to the website. Now the issue with that is that data just gets added to Google Ads rather than having the user be fully tracked on Google Analytics, which is going to give us much more data on what that user is actually doing on the website, and then just importing that onto Google Ads. What it also does is it allows us to just set up the conversion tracking once so that we can track non-ad conversions the same way. So by default, this will track any type of traffic. It's just that when the traffic came from ads, it'll get imported into Google Ads as well. Now we're going to set up call tracking because calls are where most conversions are coming from, so it's going to be the most important thing for us to track. And I'm going to do that through CallRail. It's what we use for all of our clients. And we're going to track calls in two different ways. One is calls directly from ads. So we're going to have a static phone number that we're going to put as our call extension. And if we were to ever do call only ads, we would use that number as well. If we were to ever put the phone number in the ad copy, we would also use that phone number. And in order to be able to use that as a call extension, that number does have to appear on the landing page. So it's just going to be thrown in on the footer of the page. Now, the other thing we're going to be doing is tracking phone calls from ads when someone lands on the landing page and then takes out their phone or clicks to call if they land there on their phone. And we're going to be able to do that with CallRail and using dynamic number insertion. Basically, what's going to happen is when someone comes to the website, the phone number on the website is going to change based on how many numbers we add to our keyword pool. And what this is going to do is this is going to allow us to track the actual keyword that triggered that phone call by attributing that phone number to the actual click. Now, in order to enable DNI, we do have to add a little bit of code onto the website. And I am going to have to add the phone number to the footer of the website, which I'm going to do all that off camera because it's not, if it was built in WordPress, it'd be a lot faster, but I have to go into the actual HTML files and around the code. So it's not the point of this video. So I will do all that off camera and then basically refilm when we get to that point of making sure everything is properly set up in Google Ads. So let's go ahead and set up CallRail within CallRail's dashboard. So the first thing we're going to do is set up our static number. And this is going to be the number that we use for just putting on the landing page and on the ads itself. So for this, I'm just going to click put it offline. Just Google Ads number. I'm going to put the forwarding number here. I'm going to choose the phone number that we will put on the landing page. Now for this, I want to choose something that is within the same area code, so this works. Add number of features. We're going to record the calls. And of course, before you enable that, check local laws and all that kind of stuff. Done. So now we have our Google Ads number. Now we're going to be able to put that on the landing page and set up the call extension as well, the phone number extension. Now let's set up our keyword pool. So this is going to be the numbers that we are dynamically changing. And then after, we'll set up all the integrations within CallRail to actually be able to do all of this. So once again, we're going to go to create number. This time we're going to go use it online. We're going to use it on our website. And we want to track calls, keywords, and web sessions. So we're going to name this just Google Ads keyword pool. Now the number of phone numbers you need is going to depend on the amount of clicks you're sending through to the website. So if you're not sending a whole lot of traffic to your ad account, then all you have to do is go with the minimum, which is 4. If you have a much larger budget where you're definitely going to have more than 4 people on the website at once, then I would definitely increase that. Basically, you can have minimum of 4, but have about 1 phone number per person that is going to be on the landing page at once. So if you have a budget large enough that you have 50 different people, visiting the ad, all within a very short period of time, maybe within the couple minutes, 10, 15 minutes, then I would have 50 different phone numbers. But it really all depends on how much traffic you're actually getting. And then we're just going to set what phone number this is going to forward to. Once that's done, we're then going to decide how we're going to track our visitors. Now we can do this through all visitors or just visitors from Google Ads. Since the only place that traffic is going to be coming from is Google Ads, we're going to select all visitors, and the majority of the time we're going to be selecting all visitors in the first place. So now we're just going to go ahead and choose our phone numbers. And sometimes it won't allow us to select numbers local to, so I'm just going to go numbers with a specific area code, just put in the area code, and then it will go ahead and give us numbers from that area code, recording calls, and activate the tracking numbers. You can see that our keyword pool is set up, and we can access this. We can see that there are a total of 4 numbers in our keyword pool. So now we're going to enable all the integrations that we need in order to set CallRail up. Once that's done, we'll then import CallRail's data and verify that everything is set up within Google Ads and set up our dynamic number insertion on the website. So I'm going to go over to settings. I'm going to go over to the JavaScript snippet. I'm going to then copy this to the clipboard. And then what I'm going to do off camera is I'm going to go ahead and add this piece of code onto the landing page. So now that's done, let me show you. If I go to the landing page here, it's going to happen fast. So we're going to notice that the phone number just switched to one of the call tracking numbers. So this is dynamic number insertion. And at the very bottom of the page, we have our Google Ads phone number that we set up right here. Now the reason being is that in order to have the call extension set up, the phone number has to be on the landing page. And so we don't want someone just going to the landing page and calling this number, but it has to be there. So we just add it to the footer. It's very out of the way. Chances of someone actually calling that before, calling one of the much more obvious call to actions is fairly low. So now we can actually set up our call extension on Google Ads. So I'm going to grab this Google Ads number, go back over to Google Ads, go to Ads and Extensions, and add a new call extension to the account, create new, add the tracking number right there, uses account settings, call from ads, everything there is fine, and we're going to save. So now we have the call extension set up as well. Now what we need to do is import the call data from our dynamic number insertion into Google Ads. Now already what CallRail will do is under the activity, we'll be able to see when somebody calls already, and we'll be able to see if they came from the Google Ads versus the actual keyword pool and what keywords that they triggered, but we also want that data to be added to Google Ads. So we're going to go into our settings and set up the Google Ads extension. We're going to come down here to authorize. And while I'm authorizing this, I'm just going to go ahead and pause the video. So now that's set up. So all I had to do was log into my Google Ads account, and then I'd automatically be redirected back to CallRail. And then CallRail would ask me which Google Ad account, because it was under my management account, would I want to connect. I selected my ad account here, and then I just had to hit activate. And if I selected the wrong one, I could always change it here. So now that's done, if we go back into Google Ads and we go under conversions, we might have to reload the page, but we'll see now that we have a source import from clicks for phone call. Now we can go ahead and edit this. Now we need to make sure we don't edit the name of the conversion because that will screw up the CallRail integration, but we can change anything else. So I can change this over to a lead. I can change this to use the same value, and I can just put it what I put the other one at, which is 120. Source is going to stay there. Conversion window, I'm just going to set this to 30 days. This is what we also have the form tracking on. Depending on your needs, it's going to depend on what you want to do for that. Including conversions, yes. last click, I'm going to change that to linear. And we are done with that. So now we'll be able to track all of our CallRail calls. And that's it. We are finally done with setting up this Google Ads account. If you have any questions about anything that I did during this process of setting up this Google Ads account, go ahead and leave a comment down below. Or if you want me to elaborate on something, I know that there were certain aspects such as copywriting, bid selection, cost per clicks, conversion tracking in terms of on the landing page and whatnot that I kind of glossed over just because it wasn't the focus of this video series. So if you want me to dive deeper into anything, just let me know again in the comment below, or you can get in touch with me by going to teambluedog.com or jaredsbuwak.com.